Wake up, everybody, what you doing?
Give me your wig. Give me your wig. Cause it seems like you are through with it.
Like I always say, make sure that you look out for this week's episode of the Expression podcast of my podcast that will be up on Tuesday exclusively at patreon.com/AdrianExpression. There is a whole bunch of other stuff for you to get into as well, so check it out. Now, I want to just get into the topics at hand. I feel like I've been talking a lot about Chloe, so it's nice to see a little update from Halle. She put this up. She said, and just like that, that's a wrap. After auditioning for this film when I was 18, just about to turn 19, to now finishing filming through a pandemic when I turned 21, we have finally made it. I feel so grateful to experience this film in all of its glory. And she put up a picture of herself, of course, looking like a goddamn mermaid, looking like a beautiful ass mermaid in the sun. I don't know if it's sunrise or sunset, whatever the hell. Looks beautiful. Cannot wait to see exactly how she's going to look, how she's going to sound, how she's going to act in this upcoming movie. I think that her voice is perfect for little Miss Mermaid. Okay, Miss Mamas who wanted her legs. I think about this all the time. I'm just like, if I was a sea creature, like a sea being, like a mermaid, what like, the nigga, Prince Eric would have to be so fine for me to want to leave my, like, to get legs and shit. It would really have to be giving America's Next Top Model tease, and I guess it does make sense because Prince Eric did ask Ariel if she want to be on top. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna mention this really quickly because it's nerdy news. And apparently Megan, I think this was announced quite some time ago, Megan Thee Stallion is supposed to be in the She-Hulk. These are rumors. I don't know how confirmed it is, but they're saying that she's gonna play herself. Emilia Clarke has also been casted in Secret Invasion. I think we already knew that, but they're talking about it a little bit more. But yeah, for more nerdy stuff, go to youtube.com/AdrianExtra. I'm really trying to reignite that channel, so go ahead and help me out. I have already recapped one episode of Loki, and I'm going to do the finale over there this week on that channel, so make sure you go ahead and check it out. So this is coming from the More Perfect Union Twitter account. So there has apparently been a strike going on at the Lay's chip factory. Nearly 600 workers have gone on strike in Topeka to demand better pay and treatment. So they're saying Frito-Lay workers in Kansas are being forced to work 12-hour days, 7 days a week in a dangerous factory. And in that factory, a lot of times when things are extremely cold, the company don't want to heat the goddamn factory. They gave them kerosene fucking lamps or some shit, and when it's really hot, they be forcing the workers to work through like heat exhaustion and shit. It's actually kind of crazy. I mean, they call the shifts that they have to work suicide shifts. They're saying that they miss their kids and they miss their families. They also said that over the last 10 years, warehouse workers at Frito-Lay have only seen a wage increase of 20 to 40 cents. While I think 1 year the CEO, I think that took it over, like brought home like 14 million goddamn dollars in 1 year. I think the year was 2019. I mean, if you're seeing signs like this, I saw this shit on social media. Due to labor issues at the Topeka Frito-Lay plant, we are out of some Frito-Lay products. So it's just like, I don't know. And the thing is, the workers are not, how do I say this? Like, they are very adamant and determined. You talking about workers who have been there for like 30 something years striking and also saying that we're gonna do this shit for as long as we have to. I don't understand at this point, if you're a huge company like that and you don't see what's going on with like just the state of the world, the state of society, and the fact that other companies are getting dragged, why would you not go out of your way to make sure that your workers are actually being compensated? And treated fairly and treated like human beings. I don't understand shit. To me, it's not that hard, especially considering the workforce is your product. That's what I see it as. Like, without your workforce, bitch, you won't have no product. You will not be able to distribute your motherfucking product. So it's like, isn't it, even if you're just coming from a place of selfishness and wanting your company to do better, isn't it within your best interest to treat your employees like they're fucking human beings? Like, where's the disconnect? Am I like, you know what I mean? If you want your product to be in consumers' hands, treat workers who are selling the product and making your product, treat them like they have some, like treat them like you have some kind of goddamn sense. I just feel like it's such basic level thinking that I don't understand why, you know what I mean? Why it's not being done across the whole goddamn board, but I don't know. Greed and selfishness is really something, because I think that's the only fucking explanation. Like, wow. I thought this was interesting. So apparently there are a whole bunch of fucking protests, and people are saying that this is like the most intense that they've seen in like 30 years or something. They're like crazy protests going on right now in Cuba because, let me see, what are they saying? These people are shouting freedom in the streets over and over, anti-government slogans. They said that hundreds of Cubans took to the streets in cities around the country on Sunday to protest food and medicine shortages. And I'm sure there's even more deeper analysis that can happen with that. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I have all the answers. But what I will say is the reaction from the United States to this shit is very, how do I say it? It's very predictable. It is something that I feel like they do with a lot of different countries. So Biden said this, he said, "We stand with the Cuban people as they bravely assert their fundamental and universal rights, and as they all call for freedom and relief from the tragic grip of the pandemic and from decades of repression and economic suffering." So we already know that the United States loves to interfere, especially like revolutionary fucking governments. They will take your ass out and down, and then they will punish your ass for decades and decades. And this is exactly, from my understanding, this is exactly what has happened in Cuba, based off of the fact that there's a whole ass embargo that the United States has put on and recently voted not to fucking end the shit. There's a whole ass embargo placed on Cuba. And I mean, I even saw in the research that I did that there can be penalties for countries that want to work or trade, certain countries that want to, or at least allies of the US that want to work or trade with Cuba, do certain kinds of business, do business with Cuba. There can be penalties even for them, I think. But the reason I brought this up is just, again, to highlight the insane hypocrisy and double speak of a lot of these politicians. Like, how can you sit here and say, oh, well, girl, you know, we stand with you, we stand with the people of Cuba, we stand against the bullshit economic repression that y'all have been going through. Meanwhile, the politicians there are voting to keep the embargo going. First of all, there is an embargo that exists that comes to, there's U.S. sanctions on Cuba that have literally directly facilitated some of the issues that they're fucking facing right now. Like, it's insane to sit up here and be dragging their ass with one hand and then writing bullshit, flowery ass press release, you know what I mean? Press releases with the other hand. It's crazy. Speaking of hypocrisy, Miss England, I'm seeing what the hell. I'm seeing what's going on over there, and it's an absolute goddamn mess. It's an absolute, so this whole section of this video is gonna be really just focusing on Euro 2020. So now that's the European Football Championship. Y'all already know football means soccer over there. You're already down, you're already down. Do not ask me about no specifics with the sports teams. All I know is that England lost that shit. So one of the things that kind of solidified the loss is the fact, look at this. Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and Bukayo Saka, hopefully I'm pronouncing their names correctly, they were the targets of racial abuse, okay, online, after they missed spot kicks in a penalty shootout with Italy, which basically settled the game. You can see from this fucking video that these people are acting crazy as hell. And I always find it so interesting how like the difference in coverage, like when it comes to sports and people getting angry because they lost or won or some shit, versus like protests fighting for people's, you know, human rights. I find it so even something like little girls or teenage girls being excited about their favorite boy band or their favorite celebrity or their favorite singer or some shit, and how they scream and act all crazy when it's time for a concert. Like how people will drag the shit out of them little girls for being excited about little girl shit. Like they're kids or they're teenagers, whatever. Let them have their fun, bitch. They will drag this shit out there. But as soon as these men come on here acting like hooligans, acting like they have like not even one brain cell in their goddamn skull, all of a sudden, I just feel like the world talks about it and handles it differently, especially since they seem to be so empowered to keep the bullshit up. I saw people sticking fireworks in their booty hole. It was just a lot. But sports is really intense for these CISSIES. But I just find it really interesting that these players who are black, you know, they missed the kick. They missed the kick. And as soon as they missed the kick, it was just from the racists over there, it was just like, oh, these niggas ruin everything. I mean, N-words out the ass, bitch. And it came from the same, remember, I always bring it up. Britain over there, they were having this whole conversation about, oh girl, why are y'all talking about institutional racism? That shit doesn't exist, that shit is out of here. And as soon as three niggas miss a kick, it's just, the nooses come out. It was just like, but I thought y'all said racism, that all that shit was not an issue anymore, mama. Some of the most just ridiculous things came from the big figures over there in the UK. So first of all, this one came from the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. William and Kate, that's what they said. I am sickened by the racist abuse aimed at England players after last night's match. It is totally unacceptable that players have to endure this abhorrent behavior. It must stop now. And all those involved should be held accountable. I guess that W at the end stands for William is the one who said that shit. Now, I just find it interesting that we're so ready to speak out about that shit, but when Meghan Markle was walking around here, it's crickets. That's what it was given. It was given crickets. And y'all tried to play that media game against Miss Mama's like, are you serious? Boris Johnson and Priti Patel, girl, they also came out trying to condemn the actions and condemn, oh my gosh, we can't have this racist shit going on. When Boris Johnson was the one who said, because the team, I guess that specific England team, they were taking a knee, I guess, also not only in solidarity with obviously Colin Kaepernick, but to speak out, stand up against racism. Like they were taking a knee, the fans were booing their ass, and Boris Johnson said that, you know, these people have the right to boo these motherfuckers, like they have the right to boo their ass, you know? And Priti is over here making statements to talk about, oh, it's so heinous and racism cannot stand in our country. Meanwhile, that whole thing, remember that shit when she was trying to deport all like, okay, this is coming from The Guardian. The department, the Home Office, which Priti is in charge of, has been found to have violated equalities laws by disregarding the warnings about the impact of its hostile environment policy on black people. That whole Windrush shit, like, we don't even have to talk about that. Remember when her office was going to deport like, what, 50 Jamaicans? But then it was disputed at the 11th hour when 4 were recognized as potential victims of trafficking. So it's like it's just so interesting. I don't know. I guess the focus of this video is just the hypocrisy of these politicians, because it's like, how are you going to talk about, oh, standing up against racism and shit, and oh, I can't believe that these things happen and they should not be happening, when your policy and the words that you say, especially with Boris Johnson, like all of the words that you say and the policy that you create leads to this kind of rhetoric. It leads to this kind of behavior from your fucking citizens. Like, what are y'all talking about? Shut the hell up. So lastly, I want to talk about Caitlyn Jenner. So there was this whole event that went on, and it's called the Conservative Political Action Conference. And of course, Caitlyn Jenner took her annoying ass over there. And while she was over there, she got heckled and she got called all kinds of, transphobic ass names. They were like literally misgendering her on purpose. And to me, that's one of the least surprising things to happen at a conservative political action conference. I think the tokenism and it gives very cool coon-like behavior that Miss Mama's exhibits literally sets her ass up for this kind of bullshit. It doesn't excuse it, but it definitely is, like I said, it's the least surprising thing to happen this week. I would feel bad for Miss Mama's, but the way that she is actively working against her own community is like, girl, you gonna have to take them problems to somebody else and complain, bitch. I'm not trying to hear none of that shit. But what's interesting is this shit, because when you look at this, maybe you'll start to see what Caitlyn may view as her pathway forward. So this is what Tomi Lahren said literally today. She said, the attacks on Caitlyn Jenner are despicable. I'll go to bat for her every single time, and if you want to take my conservative card for it, take it and shove it. Your mob is no better than the left's, and in fact, it's ugly. So maybe Caitlyn Jenner really does think of herself as having a shot at being the Republican Party's like token. You know, maybe she really did, because look at how quickly, this is what Tomi Lahren was tweeting about transgender people as early as, you know, the beginning of this year. She was doing that shit. But I think that Tomi Lahren is not going to be the only one who's going to try this shit. I'm sure their goal is to make the left seem like they're just super intolerant and, oh my God, just because she's trans does not mean that she can't be a part of are you saying that just because she's trans she can't be a part of the Republican Party? You know what I mean? They know exactly what they're doing. And I think that Miss Mamas wants to be used as their puppet, because there's absolutely no way that you cannot know what you're going to be walking into as a trans person in all of these fucked up ass conservative spaces. Like, you know what you're getting yourself into. So there obviously has to be an end goal. There obviously has to be something that you're chasing, Miss Mamas. And if it's tokenism, I feel so sorry for your mental health, girl, because you're going to be going through it. They're going to be putting you through the ringer. They're going to be putting you through the ring. So coupled with the fact, like I said, that she's actively using anti-trans and like talking points, you know what I mean? And she's actively working against the entire community. It's like, girl, this is going to be a roller coaster ride for you. Okay? Because I don't know what side you're going to be. I don't know what side is going to be welcoming to your ass. Period. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really wanted to talk about. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure that you go to patreon.com/AdrianExpression for more. YouTube.com/AdrianExtra for the nerdy shit, video games and all that. Love you so much, and make sure that you have a good goddamn evening.